All right, these are the visuals coming in from the place where Donald Trump will be addressing media. We know that the news pool have gathered at the White House, and soon we will see U.S. President Donald Trump addressing the media, briefing about this incident and more. We'll be watching out for that. And the other hand, we see the live visuals coming in from the not live visuals, these are the visuals that had happened just more than 1 hour ago when these shots were heard, where President Donald Trump, along with First Lady Melania Trump, and what we see in the visuals is also Carney Levitt, were evacuated very soon after these shots were heard in very close proximity, with a lot of very top U.S. officials present at the dinner, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, War Secretary Pete Hegseth. We know is that the suspect is now in custody, is being apprehended, and soon after, now Trump has also said that the shooter has been apprehended. This particular event has been canceled, and it will be scheduled after in 30 days afterwards, as was stated by U.S. President Donald Trump himself as he was evacuating this particular place. What we know is that the U.S. officials of the U.S. administration and journalists have arrived at the White House. They had arrived there and they were evacuated. Of course, we'll have to wait and see what exactly had happened there. What we know is that these shots were fired, and soon after the president was evacuated from there. Vice President J.D. Vance and members of Trump's cabinet who were also in attendance were also rushed out. The suspect is being apprehended. U.S. officials say that President Trump and J.D. Vance and all the other members are safe. U.S. Secret Service, which is probing the shooting incident, had confirmed that Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are safe. We also know that, according to an Associated Press, the security incident took place outside of the room where the President Trump and other officials were attending this dinner. Trump had posted on Truth Social saying that law enforcement has requested him to leave. He wanted to address the media, address the dinner rather, and he was then told by law enforcement to evacuate as soon as possible. Reactions have been coming in, and the first reaction, of course, came in from the Senator Chuck Schumer. We also had Lindsey Graham reacting to this incident. Mexican president has also reacted to this incident, saying violence must never be the way. Susan, our correspondent Susan, is joining us now. Susan, we know that we'll be waiting. We have visuals coming in from the White House where President Trump will be addressing very shortly. Tell us more about this, the situation, the security situation as of now.
Well, as of now, we are being told that the ballroom has been evacuated and that the hotel and its premises are being evacuated so that there is a complete sweep by the Secret Service and law enforcement in that area. Of course, they want to take every measure to see if there's any further threats, not only against those individuals that were in that room, but basically in the perimeters around that hotel as well, which is understandable. The president, of course, is safe at the White House, and as you mentioned, the pool has been gathered to wait for the president's address. However, there is not an exact time on when the president will address the nation, but it appears that since they are in the room where the president is expected to speak, then he will speak shortly. I do want to say that, just to get our viewers up to par regarding the situation and the security situation there and how guests were able to arrive at this venue at the Hilton Hotel, where, ironically, former U.S. President Ronald Reagan had an assassination attempt against his life back in 1981 when he was leaving the hotel, going into his limousine. As you walk into the lobby, all you need to show was an invitation, which you can imagine can very easily be forged if an individual wants to, commit an action like this. It was only until you get to the entrance of the ballroom where there were TSA agents and metal detectors where individuals had to go through and their bags were being searched. So such a close proximity to the president, not just the president, you have the president, you have the vice president, you have the Secretary of War, you have the Secretary of State, you have the health secretary. all of these individuals, most of his cabinet, not to mention the FBI director and others, Tulsi Gabbard was a guest also at that event, were all in the same room. And still this individual was able to come into the hotel lobby because there was no security to get into this lobby. And there was only one layer of security just to get to the ballroom. So, those are going to be questions that we're going to be talking about and asking in the days to come. But as for now, it appears that there is this unified voice, not only from Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and others, but also from the president's own party, everyone saying that they're just happy that the shooter has been apprehended on the one hand, and on the second hand, that everyone seems to be safe as for now.
Absolutely, Susan. As you mentioned, of course, this is something that is not to be taken lightly. It's unprecedented concerning the fact that there are very top leaders present at an event where President was supposed to address. All right, just to get our viewers up to date, we know that President Trump is at the White House. He will be addressing the media very shortly. We'll be covering that for you. These are visuals coming in from the Washington Hilton when the incident had happened, where the Secret Service had taken action, and they came in front as the president was being evacuated. On the other hand, you see visuals from White House. These are live visuals from White House, where the press pool is all ready to listen to the press briefing that Trump will be making in a very short while.